because up next is the big moment. HMRC has joined us and is ready to talk about CDS. Let's hear it from the experts. Let's hear it from the government themselves, because this is the next big thing. Is the changes of the computer system. We have never gone through such an important change as in moving from one system to the other. It is significant because the UK freight forwarding industry and the broker industry has worked with a very a chief system, a very handy chief system for many years, is fully aware of operating it well, and now we need to change. We need to change to a new system where it looks a little bit more rigid and it takes a little bit more time to understand. But as everything, open eyes, open ears, understanding, and time to digest the information and understanding the reasons why we're doing it will be successful. The only thing I find ironic is that it is based on the data set of the Union Customs Code, but c'est la vie, as they say in France. With that said, now let me see if I've got the right people here. I'm expecting Declan, Sue's there, and Anjali might also be there. So either of you, if you're there, you can take it away. The floor is yours, and we would be excited to hear about the Customs Declaration Service and the practical steps that businesses can take right away.
Wow, thank you for that great introduction. It's Sue Harkins here. We're really pleased to join you today. And just as way of introduction, I'm the migration lead for that move from Chief to CDS. We've got a short overview for you today, which will take you through the key steps that declarants and importers exporters need to take in making that move to CDS. And our big strong message on this is, if you aren't already, please do start preparing now for your move. And with that, I'll hand over to Declan, who's just going to take you through a short presentation.
Cool, thank you, Sue. So welcome everyone. Thank you for attending today's presentation on preparing to move to the Customs Declaration Service. So my name is Dec, and I'll be taking you through the key information you need to know to successfully move from Chief to CDS. So as you can see here from the agenda slide, I'll be giving a brief summary of why Chief is closing and when it's closing, an overview of the key stages a declarant and any traders they represent need to take to move to the Customs Declaration Service, also known as CDS. And then finally, details of the supporting products and simplifications to support your move to CDS. So the approach for questions today is to ask them directly through the chat facility, and then we'll follow up with a collated set of questions and responses after today's presentation. The slides will be shared after the event as well. So we'll also be notifying you when I read a Gov.uk website page name, as some of them can be quite long. So the customs handling of import and export freight system, known as Chief, is closing. So declarants and any traders they represent should be preparing for their move to CDS now. So there are two key dates to be mindful of. So Chief will close for new declarations after the 31st of March 2023, and service will be withdrawn into the two stages. So you'll no longer be able to submit new import declarations after the 30th of September 2022. Export declarations on both Chief and the national export systems will stop after the 31st of March 2023. We strongly recommend that if you haven't already, you do start planning now. So why is Chief closing? So Chief has served the UK well. However, it is nearly 30 years old and does not match the services offered by CDS. We want to improve our border IT systems so that we can easily adapt to the technological changes of the future, as well as any shifts in trading capacity, ultimately making it easier for businesses to trade and prosper. Modern technology has made it possible for our system, CDS, to bring a more resilient, reliable, mobile, cost-effective and adaptable system for our traders to use. CDS is fully compliant with the Union's Custom Code legislation and operates both the UK and EU trade tariffs. CDS also has the flexibility to grow in line with the government's ambitious trade growth agenda and 2025 border strategy. So the time it will take for you to migrate to CDS will depend on the scale and complexity of your business. If you're still developing your plans, there are some important key points to consider. If you haven't already, you need to start speaking with your software provider now to understand their product and when this will be available to you. If you don't have a software provider, you should find one as soon as possible, and you can do so through a list of CDS ready software providers by visiting, and this is one of the page names, so it's software developers providing customs declaration software, and you can find this page on gov.uk. Your software developer can also help you with the trader dress rehearsal, also known as TDR. This is a non-live environment which allows you to practice submitting declarations without any payments taken. And we'll cover this in more detail later on. If you're an importer with an intermediary acting on your behalf, you should also be in contact with any intermediaries that represent you. This is to make sure they are preparing for CDS so you can understand their migration plans and any requirements against you in order to ensure that they can continue to act on your behalf. So the key things to include in your plan are as follows. So there's timing. When will you make your move to CDS? For example, are there any key business events that need to be considered for you or any importers you represent? We know that some large retailers start planning for Christmas in July and may well want to have moved to CDS prior to this. Alternatively, importers represented by more than one express operator or intermediary may want their migration to be complete within a certain time window. The next thing is approach. So how will you complete your migration? Whether you'll adopt a staged approach, moving over a period of time, or a big bang starting to make all your declarations to CDS from a specific date. If adopting a staged approach, you may want to consider declaration types increasing in complexity as you become more familiar with the service. Or you may choose to migrate by location if your business operates from multiple sites. Alternatively, if you represent multiple importers, you might consider migrating by importer based on their associated volumes. The next point to consider is training or information your business needs to provide your staff. For example, the key here is to understanding the different requirements for CDS based on your business and particularly the new data elements. You should not underestimate what will be involved with this depending on the scale of your business and those you represent. The sort of questions you'll have to ask yourselves in respect to training include: how many staff do you have to train and how you'll do this? Will you have super users? Will you adopt a train the trainer approach or will you train by location? What training and documentation is available from your software provider or trade association? If and how you'll use the trader dress rehearsal to support your training plan, as it is an environment to mirror the live CDS system. Again, we will cover this in a section regarding TDR later on in its presentation. Next, what are the impacts of moving to CDS, whether a staged or big bang approach for your internal systems? You need to ensure that you have made the necessary changes to internal systems that may be impacted by your move to CDS. So any integrations with accounting systems or with those you represent, for example, will need to be in place prior to using CDS. The number of traders you represent and on what basis is really key. So if you represent a significant number of importers and exporters, particularly for importers, since this is a service which is closing first, please do engage with them now, making sure that they know what they need to do so you can continue making declarations on their behalf, which we'll cover later. Linked to this, what is your communications plan? How and when will you communicate with your clients? Will this be through web content or newsletters, for example? So we've grouped the migration journey into 5 key stages, showing what's required for the move from Chief to CDS. These stages apply to the declarants, whether self-declarant or a customs broker making declarations for others. Effectively, all stages relate to declarants. If you're an importer, but someone else makes declarations on your behalf, you'll need to complete stages 1 to 4. If you're an exporter and someone else makes declarations on your behalf, you'll need to complete stages 1 to 3. This isn't linear, but some stages you need to complete before others, and some stages can be completed simultaneously. So you could be looking at the tariff, which is stage 3, at the same time as stages 1 and 2, for example. So just to take you through the stages. So stage 1 is prerequisites. And although this sits outside of CDS, this stage is a requirement to be able to register for the service. To register for CDS, you'll need a government gateway account and a URI number, specifically starting with GB. It is very common to find that somebody in a different part of your business already has a government gateway, particularly in large businesses. So we recommend that you check within the business first before you create a new one. This is because it is likely that someone in the finance department, for example, may already own an ID. So now that we're registering for this service, so this now ties us in nicely to stage 2, which is all about getting access to CDS. To do this, you'll need your unique tax reference number, as well as your government gateway details and your URI number. Once registration is complete, you should be able to access CDS within 2 hours. However, it is advised that you wait for the email confirmation before accessing CDS for the first time. It is at this point you'll be able to access your financial dashboard, which provides you with all the information related to the financial aspects of imports. So, for example, your methods of payment selected. Stage 3, so this is all around understanding the data requirements for CDS and any changes relating to authorizations. This will help you to determine the level of changes against existing authorizations you may need to make. Please make sure you take sufficient time to understand the UK Trade Tariff Volume 3, which is different to the one you will have used for Chief. A key change to note within CDS is that you'll now have data elements instead of boxes. Data elements are organized into 8 logical groups. Each group is targeting a specific area of the declaration. Please note that Chief codes do not work on CDS, meaning that the data you used to enter in Chief is not valid in CDS. The codes have changed. So do review the combined appendices from the UK Trade Tariff Volume 3 for CDS to identify the correct codes to be used in the CDS data elements. So the key point to highlight around authorizations is that you or any traders you represent currently have in Chief will automatically be migrated to CDS, and therefore there is no need to worry about getting these added. You'll find a list of all 54 authorization codes, and this is another one of those long GovUK page names, so it's authorization type codes for data element 3/39 of the Customs Declaration Service. Should you require an additional authorization status, please apply using the guidance on the Gov.uk site. Each one of those 54 authorization types may have slightly different criteria and requirements and may have a separate application process. Moving on to stage 4, this covers completing the direct debit instructions and standing authorities, as well as changes to the different methods of payments and their applications. Overall, transitioning to CDS will change the way you process your declaration payment, and how you'll be affected depends on which payment methods you use. Therefore, it is advisable you understand how you, or any importers you represent, intend to pay for goods before you submit a declaration. And then you'll need to ensure all related activities have been completed before you start using CDS. HMRC has replaced the Flexible Accounting System, or FAS, with cash accounts. Once you have access to CDS, you'll automatically be issued with a cash account. To make a payment into your cash account, you can simply make a transfer from your bank account by Faster Payments, CHAPS or BAT to the new CDS bank account with the reference CDSC followed by your cash account number. To use your duty deferment account in CDS, you must ensure that the duty deferment account holder completes a new direct debit instruction. Once this is set up, you can take monthly payments to settle your declarations. You can also pay immediately for goods declared by card, by guaranteed cheque, or by bank transfer. Goods won't be cleared if you use a wrong payment reference or pay into a wrong bank account, so you must make sure that you use the correct reference code and also pay into the new CDS bank account when making payments into your financial accounts. Standing authorities and all your customs, excise and import VAT duty payments can all be managed via the CDS financial dashboard. If you're an importer that uses a customs broker of some sort, it is important that you use the financial dashboard to check that any authorities you have set up on Chief are set up on CDS. And finally, stage 5. This relates to the testing of the declaration process in the trader dress rehearsal environment, making sure that you are ready for submitting declarations. So, what is TDR? The trader dress rehearsal is a declarant-focused offering, allowing the declarant to assure their day-in-a-life declaration scenarios in an isolated CDS simulated environment prior to moving to CDS. TDR is a free-to-use service available to anyone planning to use CDS. As an isolated environment, there are no connections to CDS, Chief, or any other HMRC system. It will not create any legal declarations, and no payments will be taken, giving you the peace of mind to freely practice submitting a declaration with all of the new changes that have been brought about by CDS. In order to obtain access to TDR, the first step to take is to contact your software developer, who will be able to grant you access to TDR. You'll need to provide a GB URI number for your business, and you'll also need to provide authorizations, licenses, and duty deferment accounts required for CDS. Please also review the guidance related to the UK Tariff Volume 3 before or after you enroll to TDR. However, it's recommended to do this before you start submitting declarations, as this will help you to complete the data element in the declaration type selected successfully. Once you are ready to move to CDS, getting access to the live CDS production environment is something your software provider can help you with too. Once access is granted, you'll be connected to CDS and you can begin submitting live declarations. All of the information you need to prepare to move, register, and get access to CDS as well as making a payment, can be found on the gov.uk via the CDS homepage. You can find this by typing Customs Declaration Service into the Gov UK search bar and selecting the top result. You can access from here the CDS UK Trade Tariff, which sets out the processes for completing a declaration. In addition, we have produced a number of new supporting guidance and comms products. For example, there is the key differences between Chief and CDS, which is a high-level view to emphasise the fundamental differences between the two systems. This has proven to be a particularly helpful resource for experienced Chief users who have struggled to successfully make a declaration on CDS by purely relying on their own prior knowledge of Chief. The example declarations have also proven to be very popular. These examples can be used to help understand the data elements and the requirements in a declaration and show how guidance in the tariff links to a specific entries on a declaration. You can then cross-check your own declaration with an example. As everyone's software will be different, the format you will see will depend on your software provider. There are over 10 examples. I think there's 13 examples which you can view on the Get Help Using Example Declarations for Imports to Great Britain from the Rest of the World page, which is on gov.uk. There are plans to be making more examples in the near future. So when you get the slide, simply click on the example declaration link, which I'll do now. So here you can find the Get Help Using Example Declarations for Imports to Great Britain from the Rest of the World. So if you scroll down, you can see how you can apply using these examples. And then if you go further down, here are the 13 examples so far. So for convenience, I already have the inventory link standard import frontier declaration with multiple items open. So I'll just show you what it looks like. So when you open it up, it'll have a set of instructions of how you can use this example. It'll have a scenario, so it will tell you about the particular import, the declaration dataset, procedure code, etc., etc. And if you go further down, there'll be roughly about, on this example, there's about 20 pages worth of showing you for this example what data elements are used, what data element names, whether that data element is used at header or item level, whether it's mandatory or not. And then on the right, it will show you guidance on each particular data element used for that example, with some also having links to guidance just to further explain that. Just take you back to the slides. So we do recognise that the printed Word document is not the only way for you to develop your skills and confidence in CDS. And as such, we are developing a range of videos and webinars covering aspects of migration and the tariff. Last autumn, HMRC delivered a 5-day CDS tariff training event to around 800 declarants, agents and intermediaries. We are now working to develop this material into a series of smaller webinars. To support the move to CDS, we have put the following temporary measures in place. So there's the easing of certain licensing measures using the waiver document code 99L. And also we have the additional information relating to certain GB import declarations, which is no longer required. So next steps and things I want to call out. So in summary, the time to prepare for your move to CDS is now. Dependent on your individual role and circumstances, you should be in touch with your software provider and any traders you represent or any brokers that represent you, ensuring alignment in preparedness ahead of your move to CDS. Do not underestimate the time it will take for you and or your staff to become familiar with data requirements for CDS. I want to thank you for your time, and I hope you have found this presentation useful, and good luck with your move to CDS. Thank you.
Wow, that was exciting. Thank you very much indeed for this very insightful presentation. Thank you, Declan. What a pleasure that you were able to make it and summarize something quite complicated in such a succinct and useful manner, because it gave us step-by-step guidance. And I was so pleased to hear that you have made these 13 examples, because just taking the one that you've selected, I could already see that's the one that I have used so far the most. It was, imports H1, and this is the one in my training. And I said through the 5 weeks training by HMRC is one we've been looking at quite a lot. So it's been very useful for me, and learning that there are these examples is actually going to help, because it does provide me with step-by-step data element, DE, by data element instructions of what I have to put in each DE. So that's great.
Thank you. Just as again from me in closing, a real big thank you for inviting us to join this. As I say, it was a whistled stop tour through that, but pleased you found it useful. And if anybody had put any comments, one of the team will have been collating those, and we will come back out to you with a Q&A against those.